The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. At that time, Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, returned from the Jordan and was led by the Spirit for 40 days in the wilderness, tempted by the devil. And he ate nothing in those days. And when they were ended, he was hungry. The devil said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become bread." And Jesus answered him, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone." And the devil took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, and said to him, "To you I will give all this authority and their glory, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whom I will. If you then will worship me, it shall all be yours." And Jesus answered him, "It is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." And he took him to Jerusalem, and set him on the pinnacle of the temple, and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from here, for it is written, he will give his angels charge of you to guard you. And on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone." And Jesus answered him, "It is said, you shall not tempt the Lord your God." And when the devil had ended every temptation, he departed from him until an appointed time. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Please be seated. O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the works your hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, your power throughout the universe displayed. Now, this is the word. The word is defined only as traced to the creative hand of God. This is the word. The reason for this introduction is to let us understand, first of all, that the world was created by God. And God left human beings to rule the world. And so if God has given you the authority to rule the world, it means that God should not be disturbed. That is number one. Remember that. Keep it in mind. For many of us who blame God for the many evil things that are happening, it is important you understand these steps that I'm going to follow right now before I arrive at temptation. Number one, God created this world. Yes, every single thing has the bearing of his being. But if you look at what is killing you today is not lion. What is killing me today is not the air that I breathe. What is killing us today is not the ground. Water has not killed us. Fire cannot kill us. The problem of the world today is none of these things that God created. You can't say the sky fell on a human being. No, I said the sun has burnt people. None of the things God created are capable of destroying humankind. Otherwise, with the existence of lions and tigers and their muzzles, with the existence of elephants, there is no reason why we should still be here. Do you understand that? Nothing God created can wipe out humanity. So God created everything, including us, but put everything under us. Listen carefully. If anything goes wrong, you and I are to be held responsible. And till now, it is still like that. No matter the criticism we give of God, no matter how much we get angry at what is happening. You know, I look at Nigeria today, and I am very much aware how long we have been praying. First of all, it was Nigeria in distress. And then secondly, prayer against bribery and corruption. It seems as if the prayer has now worsened the case. Because the times that these prayers were nursed, it is what we call Nigerians' good old days now. So which means, my dear friends, that God is not the cause of this problem. That's why prayer to him to solve it will never work. It will never work. You and I are the causes of this problem. The very moment a father cannot sacrifice his life to save a son, the evil that wants to eat sons will now know that fathers are not ready to sacrifice their lives for their sons. They will constantly pillage on the sons. Every evil that becomes evil have this primary idea that they cannot be stopped. Is the reason why evil should become at all. If you know how the rights of homosexuals came to be, you will be stunned. You will be shocked. But that is not the object of today's thought. Every single evil that has happened in the world are our responsibility. And every single good that will happen in the world are our responsibility. I want to give you an example from the first reading. Let me just tell you how everything depends on us. Glory to Jesus. The first reading is from Deuteronomy chapter 26, from verse 4 to 10. And in that passage, according to the will of God, Moses was teaching the people what to do when they are coming to submit their first fruits. When they are coming to submit their first fruits, listen carefully. They are to pronounce the following words. That we are sons of our fathers who were Arameans. They were wanderers until they wandered into Egypt. They were few in numbers. They were few in numbers. But they grew in Egypt to become large. Are you following me? God was not involved. Human beings took decision. They grew in number because God, the only thing God is involved about was to reveal to Joseph that he was going to be the one to explode the fortunes of Israel. Never did God make Israel become slave. It was Israel that made themselves slaves. Because after eating all the beautiful things of Egypt, they ought to have known the promised land that God gave them. Why did they remain in Egypt? After you've gotten what you wanted, why didn't you go with seeds, having learned the skills of agriculture in Egypt, then go back to your home to go and settle and raise a nation? Human beings are the ones taking their decisions. For 430 years, those people were slaves in a foreign land. Who carried them there? Was it the Egyptians? I'm asking you, who carried Israel into Egypt? Their legs, isn't it? They went there with their legs. Human beings are the ones making decisions. And so they will recount this in the presence of the Lord, and then they will now recount how the Egyptians treated them and afflicted them and laid bondage upon them. Listen carefully. Then we cried to the Lord, the God of our fathers, and the Lord heard our voice. Why did it take 430 years for God to act? Because one man decided to take responsibility and God blended with that responsibility. So remain there and be praying. We are praying for bribery to stop in Nigeria. Meanwhile, we receive bribe. We are praying for corruption to stop in Nigeria. Meanwhile, our families are built on corruption. We are praying for distress to end. Meanwhile, many of us are the generators of distress. Like yesterday when they say, take away the yoke. Many men are the only problems that their wives have on earth. Many women are the only problems that their husbands have on earth. A human being will make himself or herself a bunch and a bundle of frustration to another. And then you are praying for distress to leave Nigeria. We will bear responsibility for everything that's happening. What right has anyone to complain? I can't understand. Why should you complain? What are you complaining about? For instance, if anyone says that the tech companies are oppressing us just like what they did, they've increased tariff for phone. If you buy data now, it's like if you put, what right have you to complain? Where were the good guys when the evil ones were investing in tech companies? Who is holding you hostage? Even now, the business you are choosing, are you choosing any business because you want to make a difference in society, or because you want to be better than a neighbor? So when we come to church on Sunday, others will respect you. You know, we don't even know how to build kingdom. It is amongst ourselves that want to be doing a big pass you, you small pass me, and so on and so forth. Everywhere, the irritating thing is so visible. Nobody is fighting it. And every single day, every Sunday, every week, people come to church to want to make sure they are higher than the other. Meanwhile, you are all collective slaves under the hand of the enemy. Why does this foolishness not abate? How did we come to be comfortable in this kind of condition? We are responsible for everything that's happening. And guess what? God is not going to flinch. You know why? God sees your spirit. It doesn't. Your body is ordinary. Your body is nothing. It has nothing to offer. So our spirit is what matters. No wonder when St. Paul was imprisoned, the same St. Paul that was freed from prison was now imprisoned, and he now stayed. Why did he stay? Because God knows that St. Paul has finished using his body. You also have bodies. What are you doing with your bodies? I become an enemy because I preach about holiness. I become somebody people don't want to get close to because I may accuse them of sin. You see, that body of St. Paul could not stay inside prison. The body of St. Peter could not stay inside prison. Why would anybody succeed in killing Jesus Christ? What Jesus said of himself is what you can say of yourself. I laid down my life and I raised it up. So if you don't want to die, you can decide that you are not going to die. By your faithfulness, that will become. When you are sure that you are done with your body, you can now lay your body down. Maybe then when they do anything to you, it will happen. Because you are done with the body. So you could hear St. Paul say, I have fought the good fight. I have run the race to the finish. He didn't say I've run the race. He finished the race. I have poured my blood as libation. He says, what awaits me is the crown of eternal glory. That is the spirit. The spirit is him. His body was an instrument. It's the reason why when they eventually imprisoned him, he remained there. Although they imprisoned Paul, it was from prison that Paul formed and reformed the greater number of churches inside prison. So we are able to hold his spirit. We are able to hold his spirit. They weren't able to hold his spirit. So if anything happens to our bodies, God is not going to cry. But most times, it is the pains of our bodies that make us cry. It is the pains of our bodies that make us petition heaven. When the Jews were under slavery, it was the pains, bodily pains, that they cried about. Until a man decided to cry the cry of destiny rather than the cry of body pains. So we are responsible. For now, if we are crying because we are hungry. But why would a man not cry because of the destiny of his lineage? Does it mean that my child, my grandchild, my great-grandchild, my great-great-great-grandchild will be perpetual slaves in this land? That is what will make a man move from his seat to come out to fight. At that point in time, he will use his body until his body extinguishes. But the moment your body extinguishes for a good cause, your spirit is alive. Your spirit is powerful. Your spirit becomes the spirit of a God. That kind of spirit cannot witness everlasting death. That kind of spirit cannot experience 1 inch of corruption. The reason why there's going to be judgment is because what Jesus Christ did, he did it so perfectly and he did it so completely. He spoke the truth with his body so perfectly. He gave the body over to suffering. People who could not hold him were now able to kill him. He used his body. But now, let me not divert too much. The point I want us to hear is this. We are responsible for all that happens. So if for 430 years these people were in slavery, it was because of what they chose. The moment a man decided that, look, truth is in my heart. Going to Romans chapter 10 from verse 8 to 13, our second reading. It says, this is what scripture says. The word is near you, is on your lips, is in your heart. That is the word of faith which has been preached. Because if you confess with your lips that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, he says you will be saved. So it means that until you decide to elevate, you just remain there. We are the ones that are making the decisions. Anywhere you are, whether you have been oppressed in school, or you have followed corrupt practices, or because a lecturer threatened you and then you now fell for his threat so that you pass. Either as a boy, you now did what he said you should do, or as a girl, you did what he said you should do, and all that. You see, compromises to evil. They are part of the temptations we are going to speak about briefly. But first, understand, it is you and I that will determine the cause of our environment. Period. No matter how. Because the items for powers are there in the world. God created everything. So God is not expected to be interjecting unless you call him. And if God is going to interject, he's going to interject on a matter that is legitimate. That when he interjects, there will be justice, there will be fairness, there will be peace. So that's why many of our prayers are not answered, because in the first place, we don't know what we are asking for. We have to be disciplined for us to be able to. A child that tasted sugar and then now asked the mother to put a packet of sugar spread on a plate as breakfast for him because he has tasted sugar and is sweet. All that the child knows is the sweetness of sugar. But the mother knows better. The mother knows the future. The little child does not know the future. The little child does not know tomorrow. But the mother knows. If I give this child this, neither me nor the father nor the hospital will rest. So the mother knows the future. And if I give this child this, the child will eat the sweetness now, and then the entire world will be in trouble tomorrow. The mother knows the future. But the child only has the taste of sugar. That is all the child knows. That is how ignorant many of our prayers are. And then when they are not answered, we now say there is no God. You see, the one thing that we need to actually do first is to understand who God is and to migrate with him so that his thoughts will be our thoughts, his words will be our words, and his actions also will be our actions. Only one man was able to make the attempt, and God followed the attempt. But even at that, one needs to persevere in the attempt to do good, because even when Moses made the attempt to kill an Egyptian that was oppressing his own people, it took many years for his intention to be realized. But he had the intention. He had the intention to liberate his people. And he eventually became the one that was used. Do not give ears to all those statements that will tell you that Moses was prepared from time. Don't listen to those kind of preaching that Moses was prepared from time. Was Moses the only man that survived? At the period when they were killing the firstborn sons or all the male children of the Jews, who told you it was only Moses that survived? Moses was not the only one that survived. Otherwise, was it women Egypt were using to build all those things they were building? Was it women Egypt was using as slaves to build those things they were building? They were men. So where did the men come from? So they killed some, they trapped some, they trained some, and so on and so forth. So it's not as if they're just killing all. Where did they now get men that are now doing the work for Egypt? The point is, they subjected them under slavery. Slavery meant that anything could happen to them. So an average man born to a Jew in Egypt was a slave. And that already meant death, because you didn't have authority to freedom of life. Do you understand me? Good. until Moses decided to act, and God followed his action. 430 years. So if we are not ready to act, the years that we have spent in misfortune is only beginning. It's only beginning. And if you trace, for those of you who are 60, if you trace from 1960 till now, there has been only one thing that has been consistent. Evil has grown more powerful. Corruption has grown more popular. Goodness has grown more shameful. Goodness has grown more unpopular. But in the end, even those who are involved in the corruption themselves will be destroyed. So the word is on our lips. The decision to save ourselves is with us. What is making us not save ourselves? That's what brings us to the item of temptation. Now, it is important we understand the ideals of temptation here. Let us look at Jesus' temptation. You know, I had always thought, how come the devil was bold enough to enter the mind of Jesus? But this is how temptation goes. Temptation is not much of the devil telling you what to do. No. This is how temptation goes. Jesus was hungry. There is a situation. Jesus is a full man. There's a reality. No, we have a situation, then we have a truth, a reality. He was hungry, that's the situation. And he's a man. A man must eat, that's a reality. Then the third one is he has power and capacity. So let us use these three. Let us use these three to analyze how the devil tempts us. Wake those who are sleeping. And listen. It is impossible that anyone will sleep within this kind of exposition unless there is an engineering to ensure that you don't pick the powers that are meant to be expressed by these words. There are three levels that influence a successful temptation. Number one is situation. Number two is the reality of a person, of a man. And number three is the power or the capacity the person has. So the first situation is that Jesus was hungry. Hunger. He has fasted 40 days. The second level is the reality of a man. A man must eat. A man is not supposed to stay hungry for that long. So the nature of a man is that he has to eat. The third consideration is the power to fulfill that hunger. This is where the devil comes in. What the devil does is, you don't see the devil like a physical human being. Jesus Christ was fully a human being. Now, Jesus was the one thinking. Jesus was the one thinking. Because every temptation tries to justify itself. I am hungry. I am very hungry. That's number one. Number two, if I don't eat, I will die. That is man. That's the nature of man. Number three, I have this power. Yes, and he had the power to change stone to bread. This is all Jesus that is speaking. This is Jesus, because the reason why it is difficult to avoid temptation is because it's temptation. I don't know how to really put it. It's temptation. That's why it's temptation, okay? It's temptation. Nobody can be tempted with death. To say, come and die, and they give you knife to slice your throat. No, who can be tempted with that? No. So everything was complete. He was truly hungry. That's one. And number two, a human being that does not eat will die. And number three, he has the power to solve this problem. So why should he not solve it? What was happening here? Somebody went to fast. The reason for his fast is so that he will be closer to the Father. And don't forget, Jesus Christ says that all the Father says is what I do. That is the measure of our relationship with God. That every single word that the Father says is what I do. Has the Father said I should turn stone to bread? Or these are my imagination? This was what Jesus Christ taught that made him escape that temptation. Otherwise, the conditions were there. He was hungry. As a man, if he does not eat, he would die. And then thirdly, he had the power to change stone to bread. The devil was not standing near the bush with big horn and with black burnt body and feathers that are looking tattered. You think if the devil comes like that to tempt you, you wouldn't fall. So these are the processes of temptation. Real life situation presenting you with decision to take. If you are not educated, if we are not educated about what ought to be done in relationship with what we believe in, we fall for an alternative. That's the reason why many people are living corrupt lives. They don't seem to know that it is corruption. Many people are living a particular kind of life. They don't seem to know that it is bad. Then you now see somebody who is just 30 years old or 40 years old or 50 years old, and then the person is telling you that naso I be. You can't change me now. The person does not know. So if you are in hell, you say naso I be. You can't change me now. If your pathway will lead you to hell, you say you can't change me now. But does the person want hell? No, the person does not want hell. Glory to Jesus. What Jesus simply did was his response. And that response is what we have to follow. Man must not live by bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. The idea was, if God had sustained me for 40 days, I will be committing a sin to want to now trust in my own power. Because trusting in my own power was to make that stone into bread. So I have exerted myself. And this is where many of us are. We are living lives according to our decisions, not according to God's decisions. That's one. Now go to the next temptation. Took him up to a high mountain and showed him the whole city. Again, this was Jesus that was thinking. Now let me tell you, somebody who has power, we almost want to do anything with the power. When a lot of policemen discovered that government were not paying them well, they now thought it was so simple. There was a circumstance. They were hungry. They could not pay school fees. And they are risking their lives for people. They could not do anything that others were doing. That's the first, a situation. Then the second thought was that as a human being, they cannot bear that situation. As a human being, you cannot bear the injustice of being paid less. The people you are even fighting for don't know you are fighting for them. And the people you are fighting for are enjoying life more. They will be on the road standing, and then you are inside a beautiful car passing. So that's the second one. That is their humanity now. The first one is the situation. The second one is their humanity. The third one is their power. What is their power? What is their power? Gone. So it is always complete. The situation must be there. The human condition plays out. And once there is power, temptation is complete. That's the reason why many of us here, even here, are bombs waiting to explode. If we by mistake have power, Tinubu will be a saint. If we mistakenly, don't forget about this sorry face you are doing here now inside the church with your hands joined together, mistakenly have power like Tinubu will be a saint where you are. Telling you, when Jesus was sent to this mountain, they saw the entire city. And the temptation was there. Now I have come to this earth. Why not I just control this world? Jesus would have been able to do it. From one place, he could summon all the presidents of the world. Anyone that does not come will just die on the throne. He can do it, yes or no? In the Jerusalem that he is, he can say all the women in the world should come to Jerusalem. He wants to select a woman to marry. Or if you don't come, you will die where you are. Yes or no? Can it happen? Has he the power to do it? It's someone who can raise the dead can kill too. It is easier to kill. It is impossible to raise the dead. Have you not seen that? Someone who can raise the dead, is there anything he cannot do? So you think about it. If you were the one having the power of Jesus Christ, no matter how good you are, the bad that you will do, even the heavens will shut their ears. I mean, no matter how good you are, in the state of your goodness, if you have the power of Jesus Christ and mistakenly you now met somebody that raped a daughter to death, because you have the power of Jesus Christ, you'll be removing the flesh of the person small until it's only bone that is standing. The death you will give that person, because you have the power, the death you give that person, even the devil will be afraid to near you. Power. So once power is there, temptation comes. That's the reason why the greatest ethic, Christian ethic, is what they call submission. Because if you leave yourself to your power, you can do and undo. Majority of those who are doing evil today, we are not created evil. No matter how bad they are not created bad. But power changed the entire sphere. And so Jesus was the one looking at the world. This whole city can be mine. And do you know what he was going to worship there? He was going to, the devil was not physically present. He was going to worship power. The worship of power is the identity of Satan. Because Satan loves using power. No wonder Jesus Christ told the apostles that the Gentiles lord it over their citizens. They want to make their powers felt. Are you following? He says it must not happen around you. He says the highest of you must be the servant of all. The most powerful must be the least. So you can now see the vision of this temptation. That with the power Jesus Christ had, how can he be a servant? If it was you, will you go and choose to be a servant or you choose to be a king? Because anything you say will happen. But that itself will be the devil's style. Because the devil is the one that wants to make his power felt. So this was Jesus talking to himself and viewing real life situation. And was wanting to be a mighty man instead of him to be that lonely teacher that they will eventually kill. Somebody who walked on the lake, raised the dead, and then he was on that level. Why would he be on that level? Are you not seeing it? Think about it yourself. Why would he be on that level? A riffraff that the authorities were speaking against. When Jesus Christ said to the people who said that Herod was looking for him to kill him, he says, go and tell that fox that today, tomorrow, and the next, I do my work and no one can hold me. That was just a revelation of his power and authority. You are telling the king, go and tell that fox. You know who is talking? Go and tell that fox in public. So if he had taken that alternative, my God and my Lord, all the evil kings of the earth would have been cleaning his shoes. Wherever they are, whether India, Nigeria, all of them will come down and be cleaning his shoes. And then he can even do something to say he wants to live for 1,000 years. Well, God, you are lucky you didn't give me the power of Jesus Christ. Because no matter how holy I am now, what I would have done with that power, the devil would have been tired of me. God would have been tired of me. And probably is the reason why God has not given us such powers, but want him. He says, do not revenge. Because check, all those who revenge, they usually deal more damage than the damage the revenge did. Because when you are revenging, you become a demon class beast. When you are revenging, your blood boils, your brain is red hot, the cells in your bodies want to explode. So when you use, so the person who killed out of selfishness or out of wickedness does not have the boiling body like you. So what you do will now be worse than the other. That is how power is. In all the stance of retribution that I have seen human beings did. You killed my son, then I'll go and train and become powerful and wipe out you and your whole family. So that is revenge. And it on the level of human understanding and worldly understanding, that is the best. And when we are watching it in films, the way we hail the actor who is killing everybody, wipe out the entire family, you will not feel sorry for anybody that was dying at that point in time, whether the person is innocent or not. This is temptation. And this was what Jesus Christ avoided. The last one was to try power, just to test power. He knows that he's on a high pinnacle because he could be there anywhere. Jesus could ascend to the heavens. He can dwell at the bottomless pit of the abyss. He can go to the ends of the sea. He can be anywhere he wants. So everybody wants height. Every human being wants height, even though they are afraid of height. And then he was at that height. And then he just felt, if I just jump now, the breeze I will enjoy before I reach ground, why not just try it? You know, from that height, I'll just jump. The breeze, the wind that will hit me, it will be more than 2 million ACs that human beings can make. Why not just try it? After all, my father would allow me to get crushed. Before I get down, just to hold my leg. Why not just try it? If I were the one, I don't see anything that will hold me from that temptation. Because we need to be realistic here. I don't see any reason, because I'm not doing anybody bad. That's the first thing I will say. I'm not doing anybody bad. But thanks to a higher wisdom. And it's the reason why anyone who connects with God, you become strange. Your ways are different from the ways of the world. The person that they call Mumu, it's only the end that usually tells. But it's too late. When the end starts telling, it's too late for the many who don't follow that road of divine wisdom. But in all of it, when we are making decisions, we don't see the devil. Until wisdom makes us realize that we acted under his authority. So why would Jesus Christ put the Lord, his God, to the test? So my dear brothers and sisters, the ideals of temptation is actually the trust in ourselves. And then the devil will be quick to come and aid that trust. But a child of God that fears no ill, his chosen who dread no foe, are those who live their faith with God and wait according to his bidding about when to go. It is not from chance that the comforts of the virtuous spring. Their trust is in their King of Kings. Total submission, my dear brothers and sisters, is the rule. And every one of the items for that submission is around us, is in our world. If I believe that God created everything that there is, if I believe that God created every situation, including myself, then whatever situation I meet myself, I first of all present it to God, and I use that situation as a means of connecting with him, remaining in that connection, and then the other things will follow. Don't forget this verse. It is not just a sweet verse. It is a life to be lived. Seek first the kingdom of God and the righteousness that defines that kingdom. Every other thing will follow. Submission is what we are set to learn during this Lenten season. And I pray over us that we would succeed in all its ramifications to learn submission during this period.